welcome. Happy to have you all join us today. If you've been to these webinars before, this one we're going to take a bit of a different approach, kind of try to focus on what things look like inside PWL, what the client experience looks like. We've built some tools, so we're going to take some time to showcase that and really talk about how they get used in practice and what the experience of collaborating with the team looks like internally. And Braden's here. He was kind of the brains behind a lot of these tools, put them together and built them. And Trevor joined us last year from Manulife, and him and his partner Brett joined in, and their experience is kind of a pretty cool testament of what it's like to join from the outside to be part of what we're doing here. So looking forward to that. And
the tools, but I was going to jump in because I was in with Matt, as you guys know, in Vancouver and Regina last week, and we had a meetup with a bunch of advisors in Regina, and many of them are using some of the tools that Braden has built in their own practices. We're going to show today some of the internal tools, but this story of what we're creating by being, a scaled firm is really getting out into the marketplace. So it's kind of cool to see, when you get a scaled firm like us that's devoted to one mission, the belief that markets work and financial planning matters. When you get to a certain size, you can invest in tools to make us all better. And that came up with so many people at that meeting in Regina, but also, like, as you guys know, I talked to an advisor or two most days of the week, and that story keeps coming up, right? Especially in this era of data and AI. There's so many great things when you have a synchronized team that you can do at scale. So it's really exciting to be able to show people what the kind of stuff that Braden and the team have been building.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Like, it's just interesting to see what comes as we get bigger. The more people we bring into the team, it continues to level up what we're doing, and share more examples about that later. But it's just been a cool thing to see the evolution over time.
Even in the advisor chat line that we have on the go, right? Like, to see the conversations that are being had there for help and support, and the level of questions that are being asked, the detail being fed back, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about that later.
But on that, Trevor, like, we are truly one team. Did you appreciate that when you first joined? Like, I know you knew it intellectually, but when you're actually part of the team.
No, it's and that was part of what I was going to cover later, Cameron. It's phenomenal, like, having been independent and kind of on your own for such a long time, and on your own in terms of a greater global context. Like, we were with Manulife Wealth, right? Support was there. We were in an office, or other advisors there. But never felt like we were a synchronous unit sort of driving towards one goal. And so I expected that when I came here. What I didn't expect was how much that team play and interaction occurs on a regular basis. And that's what's been really important for us, or in helping us with our growth and development. Like, we wanted to come here to grow. Braden's tools were one of the reasons why we were coming. But because those were just going to help our clients become, make us better advisors and help our clients make better decisions. But really, what I wasn't expecting was this level of, hey, I have a quick question about a situation that I'm in. And, like, normally that would be hours of research or like days of calculations, right? That we would be doing on our own and hoping that we had the right answer, right? Because you never had a feedback that you could get it from. Here, there's that constant feedback loop that you can be like, hey, I'm thinking about it this way. Has anybody done it differently? Right. And to have another team pop in, it's like, yeah, we do it all the time. And to reinforce that that's what you're doing is correct, or to give you sort of like, hey, have you ever thought about it from this angle? Right. Or taking a look at it using this tool. And so that just, again, allows us to bring better advice to our clients. At the end of the day, that's what we're here to do, right? Is to make the experience for everybody a little bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's not just about what we've built here so far. Like, any team that we bring in adds value to what we're building. And we see that on a daily basis. Like, new teams that have joined from Vancouver in the last few months, they are jumping in and providing unique niche planning advice that other people in our firm did not have. So they're got knowledge in more unique complex trust planning scenarios that has been helpful for other advisors, where we, like as Trevor mentioned, we have an internal advisor forum chat where you can just ask questions, and that's firing questions in and out all day long. And it's so cool to see like kind of the mind meld of people sharing their knowledge and brainstorming the best path forward for any client scenario. So Cameron, why don't you share about like what you kind of, how you see the industry and why the quality advice matters as we're building a firm.
Yeah, and people have been on this webinar before. I'm kind of keep repeating the same thing, but you look at the marketplace, and something well north of 80% of all long-term assets in Canada, we believe, are in the banking and insurance system somewhere. And while we all appreciate a very strong banking system, I would argue that most Canadians need a better financial planning, wealth management experience. The problem is that so many Canadians don't even know the independent channel exists, let alone who to work with in that independent channel. We have some of the lowest adoption rates of index funds or the belief that markets work in the world. We have some of the highest expense ratios in the world, and expenses are fine if you're getting outstanding service, but I would argue that people are not getting the kind of service and planning support and decision-making that they need or deserve. So we're trying to be that scaled, independent firm that believes markets work and financial planning, quality financial planning really matters. So we are one team, one focus, one purpose, one mission. And we believe we're the largest scaled firm with that belief system in Canada. And we're doing the best we can to get what we believe in front of more people. So we're aggressively investing energy and resources in content, through Ben's YouTube channel and the Rational Reminder podcast, as well as other techniques inside the social media ecosystem, just to get the awareness out there. I'm not saying there aren't great independent advisors. The reality is that most Canadians wouldn't know how to find a great one. And when the value proposition of so many independent firms is some version of we can predict the future better than someone else, i.e. beat the markets, I would argue that's a nonsensical proposition for the vast majority of investors. And you can have such a nice, quiet sensible investment experience with a great financial planning firm like ours, and just tune out all that noise of wondering if your choice of who can beat the market will beat the market, because you don't need to beat the market to have a great experience. You guys, we all believe this, and that's why coming together as this cohesive unit is just so powerful in this country. So that's what we're up to. That's what our belief is. And by doing this at scale, we get people like Braden and others on our team. Like we have our own data lake, we have our own data team, we have people that build APIs, and all kinds of technical people enable us to do this kind of stuff because we all have the same belief system. Trevor, you were at Manulife. Manulife is many, many times larger than we are. However, I don't think there's a team as large as us with a single belief system inside that ecosystem, right? So that's what we're trying to build.
Like you talk about APIs, Cameron, and like just the ability of having an internal system that's growing on the IT side. Like that was always some of our biggest frustration at Manulife, was anytime we wanted to do something that could help us grow our business to the next level from a technology standpoint, Manulife would refuse to allow an API to attach, right? Because it was a proprietary ecosystem that they wanted to protect. And so to have this firm that's forward thinking in how they're looking at technology and the use of it, makes our lives a lot better. It makes us more mobile, right? Allows us to deal with our clients wherever we are. Like it's a phenomenal experience so far.
Yeah, as we're talking like Braden isn't here, probably should get to the meat of this, right?
yeah, we should jump in there. So, Braden, there's I think 3 tools that you've built that we're going to showcase today. Which one are we going to start with?
So I'm going to walk through the client journey. So actually I'm going to show the tools on the website first, just quickly in case folks haven't seen them, but I want to start with the goals exercise and what actually happens for someone that engages with the goals exercise, takes it out or completes it, and then reaches out to us to connect with an advisor. And then how does that tie in? Like where does the advisor come in and engage with the client from that point forward? Before I go there, though, I do want to touch on that point, the one team point. And I think I really want to drive that home that it's not just one team of advisors, and that is huge in and of itself, like Trevor, to the points Trevor raised before, but it is also the technology team all working together with the advisors to come together for one mission, working together to deliver the best client experience possible. So I think that, like, to Trevor's point, like with Manulife kind of butting heads, I guess, with the IT team, like that stuff just doesn't happen here because we're all working towards the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And like related to that, a question just came in. Question is, how do you balance scaling planning capabilities while ensuring the highest quality of advice is being delivered consistently? I'd also love to hear about your internal process and how advisors, planners, and specialists work together. I think this is a great question. Kind of the premise of how we've built to scale. Like, we've built the team intentionally. We've used a diamond team structure, which some of you might be familiar with. So it's basically a senior advisor at the top that's more focused on business development, maintaining relationships, leading the diamond. Then you got a wealth advisor that's building their load and kind of taking on more clients on their own. And then there's an associate that provides planning support, does a lot of the client thinking, gets involved, clear career path development to get from associate towards wealth advisor and eventually senior advisor. And then we got a client service administrator to support on the operations side. But like, how do we maintain that consistency? Like, each diamond is structured, or the goal is to structure it the way I just described, but all the diamond team roles kind of integrate with each other. So we want to make sure that the quality of advice is consistent and at the same level across the firm, whether you're in Halifax, like where Trevor is, if you're in Ontario, in BC, wherever you are, a client should get a same or a similar experience on both the investment and the planning side to cover needs that's customized to them. And we integrate very closely on, like I said, on a daily basis. And happy to get into that in more detail if you get questions.
And yeah, feel free, as I'm talking, feel free to drop your questions in the chat, and Ben can interrupt me, and we can make this engaging. But right now, this is our website. We have a bunch of tools on our website that folks are using, like Cameron alluded to. There's advisors across the country working in their own independent space using our tools on the website. One of them that we released recently is the goals exercise. Now, the goals exercise actually dates back many years ago with Ben Felix's Finding and Funding a Good Life research. But it was always in the format of a PDF, which was great, but also limiting, because the intention of the goals exercise is very clearly to step through these steps and not really know what's coming next, because you have to brainstorm your goals. You have to double the amount of goals you have on your list. You have to like look at different categories for inspiration after you've already completed an initial set of goals. So it makes the experience a lot nicer when you can step through these things and not like flip ahead in a PDF and read forward. So that's why we built this out into a tool on our website. And
I would say, Braden, if someone hasn't done this exercise, it's an incredible exercise to go through it, because you can't jump ahead. So if you actually follow along the way it has been built, the output is very meaningful.
Yeah,
I think so.
It's meaningful, and it often results in information that you didn't know about yourself.
Absolutely.
Like, the research kind of shows that humans are by nature not great at setting goals for yourself. So like, even if you think, oh, I've got it figured out, doing an exercise like this may help your clients reveal things that are important to them that they didn't actually know and they hadn't factored into their plan. So it's a really cool exercise that
Great point.
pulls things out that you didn't necessarily anticipate, or the clients didn't even anticipate. And sometimes when I've done this with clients, there's some goals that they had never stated originally that becomes one of their top 3 items that they want to pursue.
Yep, totally. So at the end of the exercise, the person has these links, these call to actions at the end. One is connecting with us. And what this does is it it creates the contact lead in HubSpot, and that goes into our CRM, and it pumps those goals right into the CRM. So when the advisor has the first meeting with the prospect, those goals are already there for the advisor to see and to chat about. And another option, though, for folks that don't want to connect with an advisor is they can go through another workflow that helps them kind of do their own planning and see where they're at with their goals using some other free tools on our website. So we kind of split this off in two intentionally, because we know not everybody's going to work with us or is in a position to work with us. And that's okay also from our perspective, because if they have a great experience using our tools, then that puts our brand, it gives us a good reputation for our brand, and could potentially lead to another referral in the future.
And I don't even think it's just about brand, Braden. I think it's like truly there's so much misinformation out there, and we are advocates for providing education to the general public to learn on their own, make informed decisions. If that leads to them coming to PWL, great. But this is really about putting good quality information out there through our content and our tools to help the public.
100%. All right. So I'm going to switch gears now from our website into our internal tools that we've built for PWL advisors. So I'm just imagining in this situation, someone reaches out to us, they connect with an advisor, the advisor chats about the goals, and the client or the prospect decides to come on board and work with them. And one of the first steps in that process is to do the risk profile. Now, a lot of firms view this as like a compliance checkbox, and they don't put a lot of emphasis on actually understanding what the client's real risk profile is, so they can actually put the client in a product that's actually suitable for them and something that they're going to stick with for the long term.
I think another flaw in the industry is that a lot of the risk questionnaires that are available or provided by the dealer are subpar or not that informative. So advisors often don't place a lot of weight in the risk questionnaire itself. I think most advisors are probably truly doing what they think is a good suitability review, but having a tool like this that actually is academically proven to help identify their risk tolerances, it's a game changer.
Yes.
It's a great point. And we built this tool originally a few years ago. We released a pretty major update last year when we updated our risk tolerance question based on feedback from advisors. And I think now, we also have a version 2 on our website that is free to use, and it's really the exact same version as what we use internally, but the internal tool is a little bit more built for purpose in terms of building a risk profile for the entire household. And that's what you can see here. You can see that you can either do the risk profile at the contact level, at the individual level, or you can do it at the household level and come up with a household level asset mix. Because a lot of our clients are in, the one fund portfolios. It's really simple and easy if everybody's, across the board and holding the same assets, as long as that's consistent with their risk profiles.
And to be clear, Braden, this is not an off-the-shelf product. This was built.
No. Yeah, that's right. So we built this like completely independently a few years ago. We were using a Grable and Litton risk tolerance survey from like a paper written in the 1990s that Ben Felix and I dug up. We've since evolved those questions. We actually reached out to John Grable, the author of that paper, and found that he was helping this firm, MRI, Money and Risk Inventory, and we had them on the podcast a few months ago now, if you want to learn more about that. But ultimately it's more of a built for purpose tolerance survey, and it also layers in a lot of behavioral questions, and that's what you can see here. Like if you click into the tolerance score, you can see the results, not just the tolerance questions that we need to establish the risk score, but a bunch of behavioral questions that you can help guide client conversations. And they're all flagged based on, priority or urgency. So if you can kind of scan through these things and jump out, like these red flags essentially jump out at you for potential conversations that you can have.
Like so this goes directly to the question that was here about how we ensure highest quality of advice being delivered, right? So this is a tool that comes from your research along with Ben Felix. And a lot of research has to be done before you go public on a podcast. And then that's downloaded however many tens or hundreds of thousands of times. So Ben treats that research very seriously. And then you treat it equally as seriously in building a tool to capture what is in that research. And every advisor with every client uses this tool, correct?
Yep. Yes.
This is not an opt-in kind of thing. No. This is how we operate. Yeah. So that's a perfect example of how we ensure quality, because if you're not using a consistent risk profiling tool, you're susceptible to advisor risk, because Trevor might have a different profile than Ben does in meeting a client.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would take that a bit further even, Cameron, like going back to what Braden said, Ben and Braden are kind of the brains behind the research, but then we tested out our previous questionnaire. Advisors used it in practice with clients and then gave feedback. Like some of the questions were too abstract or not giving results that they would expect based on a client's profile. So we took that feedback and leveled up the questionnaire to make it better, more accurate, and a better client experience. It's just this continuous feedback loop to innovate and get better and level up the advice in all areas of our client experience. Is just part of our culture.
Well, even using this tool as an advisor, like the difference between what we were doing before and the level of client engagement that we have now on the follow-up conversation on the risk and asset allocation meeting, to find where in that sliding scale that they actually sit. It just allows you to start creating that deeper client relationship.
That's a good point.
100%.
Yeah, no one, like when we engage clients at this level, people are like, "Oh, I've never been asked this stuff before," right? Not on a risk profile. They just, previously it was just like you guys mentioned before, it was just something that had to be done from a compliance checkbox standpoint. So people were just running through it and go, "Here, sign here. I've assigned you 80/20," right? So yeah, very different.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the main reasons we moved away. Well, actually, you're both right. Ben Wilson made the point of evolving the product, and that's such a great point, because these products are never done. They're never complete. We're always working to improve them. You'll see this, like the next tool especially is like under heavy development right now and is getting better really quickly. But these tools are never done. We're constantly evolving them. As more advisor teams join, they're bringing in their ideas. We're making each other better, and then that gets reflected in the tools. And then to Trevor's point, that was the main reason why we went with MRI, because of those additional questions, those behavioral questions. It's just we haven't seen anything to that quality in terms of enhancing the client experience and having actual meaningful conversations about this stuff and how they understand markets and how they feel about risk. And it's just so important to making sure that our clients are in investment products that are actually suitable for them.
Well, and I'll just say this too, like right now it's an interesting time, or even like leading up to this period, like a lot of people felt like the risk tolerance may be a lot higher than what there truly was, or they feel like that, you're having client conversations where market returns 30%, they feel like they want to ratchet up their equity position. But using the tool that's here, there's questions there that we can go back and remember when you talked about your fear on this particular point? Like we can't forget that, right? And again, so just allowing clients to make better informed decisions, reminding them of what was important to them when things weren't so rosy all the time. And so it's just it's important to help, keep them within their lane.
100%. Yeah, so I guess I'll just wrap up on this tool quickly. So there's the tolerance piece. There's also capacity, which we have separate questions for, and we develop these ourselves as well. Both of those dimensions of risk get combined together to determine what the overall risk profile of the client is, and then that leads to a suggested asset mix, and then the advisor can lock in what they want to implement after having conversation with the client. So that's, obviously a big piece of the onboarding process. But now I want to shift gears into the planning portion. And I think this is really that it touches on that question from earlier about how do we ensure consistency as we grow, as we scale, how do we know for sure that clients are going to receive that high quality planning experience that we've built ourselves around, our reputation around? And it's what we've called for now the planning checklist. And what it is it's essentially this master list of planning items. There's over 100 planning items that Ben Felix initially created and the leadership team contributed to. And we have a planning council now that's reviewed and added to it. So it's this big list across the board, all the categories of planning, all of the work that we think should be done that represents like a full comprehensive financial plan. And then we've built a tool around that to allow advisors to track their progress on each one of those items. And then all of those items get scored in each category. And you'll see that the score flows up into an overall score. So we've kind of gamified the planning experience a little bit from the client perspective. But it also allows us to ensure that all of that work is being covered as we grow and as we scale, which is critical, I think, to growing the business.
Yeah, and this just started as an idea, like probably 8+ years ago, on a whiteboard in Cameron's office. Like, we had this vision to have a wealth board to keep better track of planning items and decisions that we've made for clients and the reasons why behind those decisions. Because often, like, even if you have a good CRM, data can get lost, or why you made certain decisions can get buried in your notes, and you can dig through and find it. But having it all centralized to summarize, okay, we hit all these main buckets of the financial planning process. We made these decisions here. These ones don't apply. And you can come back to it later to give an informed answer to the client when the same topic comes up again.
100%.
But this really highlights the relationship with the client. This isn't a one and done. To the question that came in around understanding that fees are important, but shouldn't be the sole focus given the importance of financial planning. I would assume onboarding a new client comes with a lot of work and would cost PWL a lot of money to justify a larger fee. Do you have a process where subsequent years have a sliding scale for fees that are charged once a financial plan is put into place? I would argue this is an ongoing relationship, like planning is a process, not just a one and done delivery of a binder. And that's exactly the point behind this. And this is what we've been obsessed with for, you're right, Ben, probably close to a decade. How do you, whether you're at scale or not, how do you ensure a consistent quality, thoughtful financial planning experience for clients? And it becomes even more important as you scale. So to have, the team and Braden come up with this, it's just been literally a dream come true for us.
Yeah. Yeah. And just to add more to the question, like, we definitely don't scale the fee down because of planning. As Cameron said, it's an ongoing process. There are seasons where there's more intensive planning and seasons where there's less intensive planning, but clients kind of appreciate having us on call and being able to reach out anytime.
Gosh.
And I think, like, while we don't have a sliding scale, we effectively do. As their wealth grows, every marginal dollar is charged at a lower marginal rate. So their weighted average fee does decrease over time on a percentage basis.
And we believe markets work. We've benchmarked our fees. I would say we're more than fair compared. And then when you consider the value proposition, the stuff we do, I would argue it's very good value.
Sure.
Yeah, and I think it's also worth making the point that when you think about 100 planning items and doing justice on each one of those planning items is going to take a long time. Like, that becomes the relationship, is how do you, starting from scratch, complete all of that stuff. It's not just like a 6-month process to cram in all of that work and then hand over something. I think it ends up being the relationship. And like Ben said, it goes through ups and downs in terms of the needs, but it's still an ongoing relationship. And some of these items, the way we set up the checklist is that some of these items need to be reviewed annually. That's just, like, things change so quickly. We do planning updates yearly or more for clients, depending on what they're going through. But then of course there's also items that don't need to be reviewed every year, and we've set up the checklist to account for that as well. Like we don't necessarily need to review the will every single year, so we put that at like a decreased frequency that it falls off. Is it kind of, once you complete an item, it goes through the stages. It falls off after a certain period of time to review, and then if it's still not addressed in another pre-programmed period of time, it falls to the needs attention phase, and then that's how like you can, as the advisor, determine what work you need to dial in on.
So you're working with a planning committee to decide what cadence things have to be reviewed, correct?
Exactly. Yeah. We've got.
Sorry, I'm just gonna chime in. Like the planning committee Cameron's referring to, Braden, you can add more light since you're running this committee, but it's an internal committee that we formed with some of the, well, I wouldn't say necessarily most knowledgeable, but pretty good planners on our team that cover different areas of the business, working with different types of clients and having different designations or areas of expertise to come together to, again, set the standard for planning experience internally.
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly it. Like I don't build these tools in a silo. I'm always bouncing ideas off of them to see what pain points they're going through in their day to day, but then also, they're the CFPs, they're the experts. I'm just the guy that helps facilitate the good experience.
Let's dig into some of the categories.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, before I dig into the categories, I do want to talk about this summary card here and how we think about prioritizing different work. So I talked about the 100 planning items, but a really important piece is that, of course, like not all 100 planning items are relevant for all of the clients. Like there's business owner clients that have their own considerations. There's clients with cross-border considerations. There's clients with, Quebec specific considerations. There's even as simple as, are you married? And then there's pension income splitting considerations. So there's a lot of different things that may or may not apply depending on the client's circumstance. So the checklist is really about, we have our master list of 100 items, but then let's tailor that down to the items that are actually relevant to the client. And then that becomes the client specific list. So it's really about blending that level of consistency with the level of customization and, that bespoke financial plan that the client needs. We need to be able to deliver both. We need to have a consistent level of service, but we also need to deliver something that the client actually needs and is relevant to their circumstance.
Yeah, it's also a dynamic tool. Like as new planning items come up, whether it's due to tax changes or like when the FHSA came out, or different things that evolve in our industry, or as we evolve our knowledge and want to apply different planning strategies, we will continue to evolve and update this tool to make sure we're considering these strategies for all clients.
Yeah, exactly. And as you can see, as I'll show later, you can prioritize different items. So if something did come up like that was like an urgent change, like I remember when they proposed the capital gains change a few years ago, and then like that became top of mind for everybody. Like that's something we could program into the tool where like this is a top of mind item across the board for these list of clients, or we could go through our data lake and comb through which clients are, have, large unrealized gains that would be even more of a priority for those clients specifically.
But this goes right to the question about quality that came up earlier. This becomes a tool for an advisor and that diamond team that Ben talked about to manage the relationships they're working with, one at that level, but also at a meta level for the firm. We're able to kind of oversee the quality at a meta level for the entire operation. So it's 100%. Great for quality. It's great for helping advisors do their best work, right? Because it's helping you be better. Mm-hmm. You're not having to build your own tool, your own spreadsheet, your own side of the table, side of the desk, notepad of things you've got to do. And that was my world going back 25 years ago. To have a tool like this that's purpose built for how this team operates is such a game changer.
Well, and Braden hit it too with the how quickly things are evolving within the industry. The rules and regulations are constantly changing. So to stay top of mind on that, as an independent advisor, there's nobody helping you, or at least my experience was there was nobody helping you. You get an email from, your dealership that would say, hey, these are the 20 changes that just occurred in the last 3 months. right? Adjust your business accordingly. Like there is no help for that. So here you've got this support where like you don't have to worry about what's evolving. The team has got it and it's showing up here in the checklist. You automatically know what you need to do. The information is there for you to apply it for the client. So the speed at which we can operate and again provide quality advice and know that advice is accurate and consistent across the board to all of our clients, it's huge.
Yep, exactly. And that it goes back to what I said before about it truly being a one team approach. It's like Ben and I can focus on what we're good at. The tech team can focus on what they're good at. Advisors can focus on what they're good at, which is managing those client relationships, having those good, deep conversations with clients and improving their lives. All right. So I touched on the filters, but just to go through, I don't need to go through them in detail. I kind of already touched on them. But you can basically toggle them on or off depending on what's relevant, and that'll filter the list and make it specific to the client. But also importantly, we have a life events and milestones tab where you can tick off whatever's top of mind for the client. Like if it's a new household that's coming on board, we have a list of planning items that are relevant to prioritize for those new households. Or if they're thinking about starting a business, or they're going through getting married, having a child, going through a divorce, they've received a windfall, they're transitioning into retirement, someone passes away, their partner passes away, they're buying or selling a home, they're moving countries, they're going through a market downturn, they're turning 60 or 65, they're starting a new job, they've got a child that's turning 18, or they've got a large capital inflow. So there's like a ton of detailed things that could be happening in the client's life. And if you toggle them on, it will, like say if this person's starting a business, for example, then it will prioritize the work that needs to be done and things that you need to go in and have those conversations about.
Brilliant.
So yeah, if we want to dive into this a little bit, like if we want to go into this one, you can click into it. It'll tell you, the details about that planning item, kind of summarizes the type of work, the type of things that you need to be thinking about and considering. And then when you want to go to update it, you can just leave a note and then it will update. So like going through some of the ones that I've entered in before, you can see the notes and this will add to it over time as well. Like I'm imagining this like 5-10 years down the road, and you've got like a whole list of notes, all of the considerations and times that planning work has been reviewed and updated over time. So you have this sort of entire time history of client experience.
The thing that we talked about 10 years ago at the beginning of this process was, and any nerdy planners in the audience will appreciate this, is when you have a long relationship with a client, finding the note about a specific topic in your CRM becomes a challenge because you have so many notes in there, right? You talk about how this helps that process.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, you can actually, let me click into this again, but you can go to the summary where it shows all of the items, and then you can search for something like, I don't know, notional accounts. And then there it comes up and there's all the time we've talked about notional account balances.
So it anchors the conversation, the note with the topic.
Yep. Exactly.
That's a big deal for us nerdy planners.
Big time.
Yeah, right? Even for non-nerdy planners, right? Like to be able to like pull up a client situation, the day before you're actually meeting them and have a real true summary of what it is that you've been discussing and where you're at in those conversations in a really quick and simple methodology. Like, it would have been an hour client prepping before, hour and a half. Now it's 15 to 20 minutes, right? If for a review meeting, if it's pretty simple, right? Because it's all your notes are right there.
Yeah. Right? Clients can be creatures of habit where they often come back asking similar questions about the same situation and like wondering, is this time different or should we approach it differently this year? And you can always go back and see like, here's what the decision we made at this time last year. This has changed, but we would still stick with this advice, or no, this is relevant. We need to adjust and pivot what we decided last year.
Yep.
And then another note too is that you can also manually prioritize things as well. So like, say if you're having a conversation with a client and for whatever reason, they really think that the budget review is super important to them and it's something that we need to get to, then you can you can flag that, and then it will show up at the top of the list. I think it's worth talking about how all of this work, all of this planning work that you're doing over time can get delivered to the client in terms of, a 1 or 2 page planning deliverable. So what we've done is for each section, and I'll do the summary one because it's the heaviest. You can create a report, and what it does is it actually takes all of those notes that have been entered in everything. So if you're clicking into the summary category, it'll take all of the notes across all of the planning categories. If you're doing just a category level, like an estate planning report or an insurance planning report, it'll just look at that category and scrape those notes. But then it comes up with an AI generated summary of all of that planning work. But then you, as the advisor, can go in and edit this. And, so you can give it your own flavor. Like the AI generated summary is the starting point, but you can go in, tweak it, add your own flavor. You can copy charts. You could go into Conquest, screenshot a chart and paste it in there. And I'm working on a better way of doing that, but you can screenshot anything you want, images, all of that stuff will be saved into your notes. And it also shows the work that you've done and the work that you still have left to do. And you can rearrange these as well. Like you'll see when I create the PDF that only, I think, the top 3 from each are shown, but you can move these around if you want, so that they can, they can be highlighted in the PDF.
You just made a comment about Conquest. There's a question that just came in. So I appreciate the work you're doing by building out your own planning tools. What made you go this route and not adapt Conquest like most other firms in Canada have? Also, it appears your planning checklist is qualitative in nature, which I think is great. Do your planning tools allow for quantitative modeling and projections that could complement the qualitative pieces? So great question. And Braden, you just mentioned Conquest. Like we absolutely use Conquest, and we have adapted and integrated that directly with our data lake. Like we're pretty analytical or data obsessed here at PWL. Like any advice we give, it's definitely backed by quantitative analysis when that is warranted.
And Braden kind of has a quantitative background. Just
yes,
a little bit.
Yeah, it's the advisors who are the qualitatives, right? We're the ones who ask for this piece, right? Because you can quantify all you want, and which is happening in most people's plans. Like you're running a quick, simple Conquest, and you're showing it to people and going, "Hey, look, here's your retirement projection. You're going to be fine, or we need to save a little bit more money." But that's the extent of, I would argue, 90% of financial plans that are being created out there. It's just meant to drive people's behavior a little bit. This allows people to understand that those are just numbers behind a much greater strategy that's at play, and helping them understand how what they've fed us in terms of information, that we've actually listened to them, right? And we have your goals and your objectives, and they're stated, and there's a fight. And then here's the quantitative numbers behind what we're doing and why we're doing it and why we've made the decisions that we've made, right? So like I don't think most people are out there creating an actual written strategy for people or backing it up, other than just a simple Conquest plan with maybe the odd note being like, hey, we use a 2.5% inflation rate here, right? Like that's mostly what I would have produced prior to this, moving over to PWL, as well as what I was seeing in the industry.
Yeah, totally. And I think from my perspective, Conquest is the foundation of the financial plan. Like all of the decisions are being made for the most part in Conquest. But from my perspective as well, that I think when we think about a comprehensive financial plan, we think about estate planning and reviewing wills and beneficiaries and all of that stuff. Like those things aren't being done in Conquest. So it comes back to the question from earlier. How do we ensure consistency? How do we ensure that clients are actually receiving a comprehensive financial plan across the board from all of our advisors as we grow and scale? And that's the checklist. That's why we need to be capturing this work, making sure that it's being done. And Conquest is obviously a big piece of that. And a lot of that work is being done in Conquest, but it doesn't tell the whole story.
Another question here for you, Braden. How have you managed the integration between this checklist and your CRM?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So actually, this ties in really well with where I was at. So this PDF just got generated here. It automatically gets sent to our SharePoint folders. So we have a client SharePoint folder structure that we've created with our IT team. So every client has a SharePoint folder with financial planning folder. This gets sent into its designated spot, and then it actually can get pulled up in another report that I'm calling the planning scrapbook, which is the collection of these 1 or 2 pagers. And I think it'd be really cool, like say fast forward 10 years from now, and you've done all of this work over the course of the relationship and it's all being captured. And then say for a milestone, like 10-year anniversary for the client, you could create this scrapbook, which combines all of that work together. Again, it uses AI to generate the summary text, but you have full control over editing that and adding your own flavor. But it takes all of those reports, and I created some old reports a few days ago to prep for this, so that you'll see some of this stuff is being fetched from the SharePoint client folders as they were in there, and then this is the one that I just created live with you guys now. But you can go ahead and create that, and it'll do the same thing.
I'd not seen this.
No, me neither.
Yeah, this is live for our advisors. Our advisors are of course, there's not really much in it. As of now, because we just released this a few weeks ago, it's going to take some time to have a bunch of deliverables in here where the scrapbook actually makes sense.
Very cool.
But yeah, there's the summary, table of contents, and then here's, of course, everything's timestamped June 2026, but this could be something from, 10 years ago, and then it's their chart at the time, and then another one, so on and so forth. So it's the collection of all the work.
Can you expand a bit on how you think about AI in all of this?
Yeah, it's a big question. So I think, I'll say there's 2 directions that we're going to expand this and enhance it. One being more integrations with Conquest, with our CRM and stuff like I alluded to. The other one being the AI direction, the meeting notes direction. So right now we have, like I've demonstrated, we've got notes for each category, but what we're working towards is being able to take meeting transcripts and then feed that in through AI to populate these checklist items. So that way, from the advisor's perspective, they're just having their conversation with the client like normal that they love doing. And then that transcript gets recorded. It gets pumped into the checklist. The advisor can review it, make sure everything's accurate. Like, yes, these items were reviewed, and this is the summary of the work that was done on that. And then again, tweak it if they want. And then that just goes right into the checklist. So it's pretty much an automated workflow from client meetings to the deliverable. AI makes it possible, but it also requires the human expertise to review and make sure that it's accurate.
But to put a fine point on that, we're not taking an off-the-shelf note tool. We're building our own.
100%.
And AI helps us be able to build that.
Yeah, exactly. And the benefit of going that route is that we can layer in our own context, right? Like, we have this planning checklist, which is originally a Word document written by Ben Felix, like with all of this content and descriptive text. And we can also reference it with like other textbooks and whatever we want, but we can really make it ours and make sure that the AI knows the work that we're doing, make sure it understands what each planning item actually means, and not just like an off the shelf, Claude or GPT version of, slop that it would spit out.
Yeah, it's really going to be reflecting the thought leadership that has been homegrown here through PWL's team.
Yep.
And again, it's that flywheel, right? Research happens, content gets produced, it comes into the service offering to clients and the client experience, and it keeps going around and around. So as Ben Felix perhaps finds some other research, and it could be on any of these subjects, that gets reflected, thought through, presented on a podcast, gets implemented into the product, and that cycle just continues, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that, what you just kind of commented on, relates to another question that came in earlier. You've been growing quickly organically up to now. Why the change now going after teams outside of PWL? And I think that's because we have a vision that's bigger than ourselves. Like Cameron said, we have the philosophy markets work and planning matters. And I would add to that Canadians deserve better. There's so many options out there for Canadians that are investment centric, light on planning, and arguably sales focused. And we want to try to bring better quality planning to more Canadians. And we can make a bigger impact by attracting like-minded people into our team to make us better. Individually, each firm will make an impact, but together, the sum of the parts is much greater than what we can do on our own. And we have seen the evidence of that as we bring teams in. We are getting better with every team that joins our firm. And we are always looking to improve it and get better as we grow. We don't have it all figured out, but we strive to continue to improve what we're offering to clients.
But if you don't believe in what we're up to, this is the worst place for you to be.
Yeah.
Right, Trevor? Like if this is not for you, this is not for you. So we're not just out there trying to buy books. That is not how we're rolling.
Or make more money, right? Like that's the other equation here. I mean, we're all growth orientated as advisors, but it's not monetary growth that we're looking for. No. Right? Like it's a fascinating experience having come from the outside, where that is a predominant driver of many people's business is the monetary growth, but not the personal and professional growth that we deliver here. Like that acquiring other teams, as we talked about earlier, that teams chat, right? And the quality of advice that we see there, and the quality of information being shared that wasn't internal to PWL prior to some of these other teams joining, those expertise come in, and we all get stronger for it. Right. Yeah. So it's and what's fascinating to me is how you guys are willing to continually evolve. Like most of these large dealerships, and I've been associated with a few of them, is that they launch a product or a process, and that's it for the next 10 or 15 years. That's all you got, right? Until new leadership comes in or a new industry change happens, they're like, this is the process. Like I've seen documents before that were dated like 2008. Right. And they're still using the same documents. Right. But here you guys are like constantly looking to evolve. There's a constant drive in that flywheel. Like I was going to say, like, that's one of the biggest surprises I had when I joined was the speed at which you guys are just constantly trying to get better and constantly evolving and implementing new information all the time. It's almost hard to keep up, right, as an advisor, right? Which is fantastic. Like I love it because it's forcing me to grow even more professionally. So
it's a great question for you, Braden. Maybe you want to read it and take it.
For sure. Yeah, it's a long one. So let me take a crack at it. Can you provide additional thoughts on the applicable use of data held in the PWL data lake? Given the large amount of data, there seems to be operational and client-specific benefits. For example, can an AI agent identify insights from a firm basis on similar types of clients and specific planning strategies that may be beneficial and may have been missed? Operationally, can an advisor build an operational dashboard that leverages the data lake, for example, operational efficiency for client-specific workflows, onboarding, client reviews, et cetera, and then compare them on a granular basis at the advisor practice level, then benchmark against other PWL advisor practices? So a lot to unpack there.
Welcome to our world.
Yeah. So in theory, though, like, and in practice too, we're absolutely doing these things. I guess there's a bunch of different use cases. You've identified some of them. There's also the marketing use case for us. Like we can see what content is doing well, what content is not, where the lead's coming from. What content generates more leads than other types of content. So it helps us from a business perspective figure out where we should prioritize. And then there's, of course, the client specific data, which it's just like, it's a gold mine of data. Like the sky is the limit with what we can do with it. We're doing some things like that with our checklist, for example, but we've got our platform. We've got OneVest for onboarding. So we've got a whole bunch of data there. We've got the conquest plans, so have another pile of data. We've got our portfolio management software that we're actually moving over to Digit. We're in the process of working with them to release that. So we've got data from all areas, and that's really what we're trying to build towards here with what I'm showing with the checklist, and why I'm saying that the integration with all of those different areas is so critical. All of that obviously happens through our data lake, but how can we get insights from that? That's what we're working on. That's what we're trying to tackle essentially. Now, I will say though too, is you asked the questions about, can an advisor build something that connects to the data lake? I mean, in theory, yes, but that's not really what we're looking to accomplish. Like, we're trying to build a consistent platform for everybody to plug into. So if an advisor has an amazing idea, I want to hear it, so that way everybody else can also use it, and we can build something that we can roll out to the entire firm. Right?
That's another tool that you guys have, that we have, right? Is that new business thought, right? Where you can drop, if you have a new idea, you think you have a better process or something that may enhance everybody's practice, you can drop it in there. The team will take it over. The executive will discuss it. They'll bring you in if they have questions and conversations about it, right? Create a business strategy plan around it. And if it makes sense, we'll launch it. Like, that to me is, we're being asked to listen to our clients in terms of creating their financial plan, and PWL is listening to their advisors in terms of what's going to help us create better plans for people, right? And I think that's that feedback, and to know that it's actually going and being applied. Like, it's not just, hey, I talked to my RD and I think maybe it'll do it. Like, the RD is probably not taking it beyond the coffee conversation you just had, right? But like, for you guys, I see it being implemented on a daily basis. It's refreshing.
Yeah, and the advisor identifies the needs or the wants that could enhance the experience, and they don't have to actually build it. We have a dedicated project team that is experts in this area of the business that can build tools for scale to enhance what advisors are doing, while giving advisors more time to focus on planning work. And we do have internal dashboards, like, to that specific question, to match and compare what you're doing to track different business, new clients you've onboarded, how many clients you're managing. I think we got time for.
I'm just going to say, just after that, like, from a tools perspective, we didn't know what we didn't have, and we didn't know what was even possible.
Yeah.
Right. Like, until we got here.
Yeah. We've got time for one more question before we get to the top of the hour here. Do you think these tools have given PWL advisors more capacity to engage, to manage more clients? I was thinking about the shortage of financial planning advisors, and if AI would be able to shorten this gap. I think the tools definitely are one of the reasons that give our advisors more capacity. I think it's also how we've designed the team structure intentionally, the diamond teams plus other support teams like dedicated trading, dedicated research, and project teams. Like, all these things combined give advisors more capacity. Like, a given diamond probably managing somewhere between 200 to 300 plus households, depending on size, and over 2 million of revenue per diamond is easily manageable without having to expand further. So yes, the tools definitely give capacity, but I think the tools almost level up the quality of advice more than it gives capacity.
Agree.
Yeah. Well, it does both, right? It absolutely does both.
For sure. This was a great session. Thanks everybody for joining. Hope you got a lot out of it. If you want to continue the conversation, have more questions, we're always happy to chat, learn more, answer questions, just get to know people in the industry. I'll put my Calendly link in the chat, and we'll feel free to book a time and reach out anytime. Questions.
We're all
email,
easy to
LinkedIn,
find, so
easy to find us for sure.
Beautiful. Great to meet everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks everybody.
Thanks guys.